So it is the wrap up for the modern day era of coins that I have found basically throughout all my coin roll huntings. So basically, this is going to be dimes, quarters, nickels, toonies, loonies, uncirculated rolls, stuff like that I have found or accumulated from the bank or during certain scenarios. So basically, I'm going to be getting into the more circulated stuff that I have right now. So each individual roll has more or less of a reason. Like this is a whole roll of different dated caribou quarters from 68 all the way up to like basically, modern times. And it's basically mostly the most nicest one. And this one's going to have basically sets from 1992, 1999, and 2000. And these ones are going to basically have like, whole sets of these, basically almost entire rolls basically completed from all the different commemorative years that they had for that one. And this one is basically just going to be mostly commemorative colorized quarters. So that's that for those ones, because I'm not going to be showing off every single one, but more or less that's what I found in terms of like coins, like just different colorized commemoratives, poppies, stuff like that. And right here is basically the nickel dump that I found, and had basically different nickels that I found throughout different hunts that I basically accumulated and put away. So basically in this bundle there's about 6 rolls of nickels dating from 1937 all the way up till I think 1964, or it could be a little bit higher. I think it's a little bit higher because I know there's some jackrabbits in there and stuff like that. And some more interesting finds or nicer dates. Like, yeah, there's a 2021. There's also some ones in here too. Like, this is a whole roll from 1937 to 1950. So, this is going to be a whole roll of Georgies, which I basically found. So, that's pretty cool. Basically, more of like 90s stuff in here. There's some bear bellies and stuff like that, because I don't put all of them into holders because it would take up a lot of space, and basically I just don't have it at the moment because I have so much stuff being used in this box I have here that I have no more space to put anything in. So that's basically that for that. So in terms of nickels, that's what I basically found. Like, here's a whole roll of like 50-cent pieces that I've accumulated from bank tellers and stuff like that, and I just threw it in this roll and then threw it in a little baggie and taped it up. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Just different dates and stuff like that, nothing too special, and more or less like special dimes and stuff like that, more nicer uncirculated stuff ranging from 1968 all the way up till like 2021. So yeah, more or less nice dimes in here, more or less of like interesting finds. Like, there's a washer dime that I use for an example to show people like, hey, this is what a washer coin looks like. Then there's like a 2021 dime that I ended up keeping from the United States. So that's basically that for those ones. I'm not going to be pulling them out and showing you guys every single one of them, but I will be going through my flips right shortly. Like, I'm almost done with this particular part, but here is something that you guys actually might find a little bit interesting. So I'm going to get into the toonies, the loonies, and then the uncirculated rolls of dimes that I've accumulated so far. So basically, I've had these Bill Reed toonies since the beginning of last year, and these are uncirculated rolls. I did start coin roll hunting, but when I did start hunting, I actually started off with toonies. So these are pretty cool. These are 2 uncirculated rolls of colored and uncolorized toonies. Like, you can see right there that this one's the uncolorized version, and that was the colorized one. And then no different with the Victory toonie. Like, I have a couple ones here. They both come in colored and uncolorized rolls. These were pretty difficult to find. Then I have 3 rolls of the new uncolorized commemorative insulin toonie, and yet again these come in uncolorized and colorized, and this time around they actually came in these basically plastic wrap rolls So that's that for that one. And now into the Loonies. So basically, these are 2 whole rolls of the new Klondike Looney, which is pretty cool. They both come in colored and uncolorized, and they're basically both like that in the same roll. So numbers vary per roll when they circulate, so there's that. And here's something that you guys I haven't even showed yet because I found this the other day. I have no idea who brought this back to the bank. They just decided to bring back 2 unk rolls. Not in this one, but of the new commemorative dime. I have no idea if this is a whole solid roll of just the uncolorized and this one's a colorized, because I don't see any differences on the bottom, but it's pretty cool to see something like that. So I have 2 of these that I've accumulated. It's pretty awesome because I didn't think I was ever going to find these, plus an uncirculated roll of the double date. So that's pretty awesome to be having. You won't really be able to see it, like you could see almost both of the dates like on the sides, like right there and there, but eventually I'll upgrade to a better camera and show them off more in high definition. But it's no different with like the stuff that I found. Like here is a, where is it? So many coins. Here's a 1964 extra waterline that I actually found in pocket change once, and I do have a video on it. It's probably in my earlier history. It's pretty sweet because I have not yet to find another one. I've only found one. This one actually has a pretty interesting little bit of a die rotation from what I've noticed. Flip it around. It's like a little bit of like a 15-degree or a 10-degree die rotation. Like I have another nickel in here that I'm pretty sure has a pretty bad die rotation as well. I think it's the 66. Yes, like this one has a pretty bad one too. It's pretty interesting seeing nickels like that. I have a few jackrabbits that are in pretty nice condition. The ones that I find are extremely hard to find is actually 1970. You're more likely to run into a batch of octagons before you find a batch of 1970s. They're kind of hard to find. And here there are some like, and this is what I would assume is specimen nickels that I got from a bank teller because some guy decided to bring back a bunch of $50 and proof sets and stuff like that, and there's like $12 face in them, so didn't expect to get those. There's about 3 of them. No different with like this is a double date 1980. I think I showed that off in our earlier video this year, but I have a couple of those that I found in that collection dump of those really old nickels. Then here's like more of a nicer 1980 that I found. I decided to holder it up because you never know. Eventually I might get an album look for all of them. Like here's a proof I'm pretty sure it's proof nickel, or it could be a specimen, I don't know. It's one of the things I have a little bit harder time to determine because certain years they made them specimen, and other years they made them proof. I don't know if the ultra high cameo ones are the proof ones, but like here's a really nice 1989 nickel. The reason why I do this is because I feel like the mint luster is more important than anything, because if you can see tons of luster like that, even cartwheels on the effigy and stuff like that, it's usually a good indication that it's like a really like uncirculated nickel. And here is a couple bear bellies that I've found throughout my hunts, which is pretty sweet. Some of them are in pretty good condition. It's funny because the back on this one actually isn't that great of condition. Basically what happens is the dye was deteriorating over time, so basically the hairs on the belly started wearing away, I actually have like several different variations of this one. There's the partial, and then there's like the bare belly portion of it. It's no different with like this really nice 1991 nickel that I found. So sit back, guys. This is going to be a little bit of a more longer video. So I'm kind of glad of finding that. So I'm more amazed by my 90s finds because I always find like some 90s nickels were really well struck, in my personal opinion. Like here's a 93, same year that I was born. It's really nice. Like look at that. It's like cartwheel. What other ones do I have? Here's a really nice 1999. I decided to hold her up. When I found it, I thought it was a proof light, but I don't think it is. I think it would actually be a lot more lustrous than that, or a lot more like mirror-like. Okay. And that's basically going to be it for those interesting finds. So now I'm going to get not into the toonies because I basically showed off what I needed to show off. There's nothing really too special with the toonies that I've found. So let's see what I can show off. Alright, here's one. Here's actually another one that I found. This is actually one of my first ones that I found. I'm pretty sure this is kind of like a proof light dime from 1975. I put PF. I forgot to put PL, even though that would be the proper term. Kinda almost looks like it. I'm not for sure, but one side almost has like a cameo going on. So I also found a really nice 1970 dime too, which is in really nice shape. It's probably the nicest dime that I ever found in 1970. Most of the ones I find are pretty ratty. So that's that for basically about the dimes. It's no different with like the commemorative like UN Looney. I have some pretty nice Loonies that I found basically in circulation or have gotten as gifts. Here's a really nice Terry Fox Looney from 2005. It's like uncirculated. Got that back and change. It's always cool to find stuff like this back and change. Or an uncirculated commemorative 1992 Parliament one. Like that's really nice. It's like people are ripping open their old sets and just spending them. But that's okay, I'll save them. And here is a really nice 2010 Vancouver Olympics Looney. It's quite funny because this Looney is actually there's some Loonies where if you get them in uncirculated, people refuse to sell them for even face, especially if they're uncirculated. So that's that for those. So now it's time for the more interesting finds. Let's get into the half dollars and quarters. There isn't really much for half dollars other than the proof likes that I found from 2 different years. There's a couple of 77s that I found, which are pretty sweet, keep in mind. I got these back when the bank teller called me and said, they're super shiny. I think they might be silver. And I was like, no way! And I was like, aw, they're not silver, but they're still cool. It's better than finding nothing. I'd rather find them in proof like. This is an 81. I found 2 of those and 3 of the 77s, so. Now it's time to get into the more interesting finds. There's quite a bit of quarters that I have. So, this one's probably the treasure out of all of them. And it is a large bust on the back. You won't be able to tell that much, but it's a Mountie quarter. I put the 150 on there, but I wouldn't sell it at all. That's what I estimated at the time. But yeah, they're pretty rare. I found it in a collection dump of a bunch of American quarters and I think like a half a dozen silver quarters that I found. And that same bank is still producing silver from me, so somebody's bringing something back to that bank. So I'll be keeping that. So I'm happy about finding that large bust. And then the one day in December, which was quite funny, my bank teller called me and said this one guy had duplicates of colorized commemorative quarters, so I went through them and found a men's hockey raised too, colorized. A lot of people in the comment sections on Facebook were like, oh, it's like really ratty, it's really horrible. Me, I'm like, actually it's about AU, guys. The 2 was a little bit hard for you to decipher, but it's not really that hard when it comes to a low and raised 2, because it's kind of like a divot around the 2 rather than it being like raised. And I think it comes from like dye deterioration or even grease getting trapped in between the grooves or something like that. Here's a specimen, what I would presume is a specimen matted, which is pretty sweet, of a 1988 Caribou quarter. At one point it must have been an ender because it has the ring of death around it, but more or less it's really cool to find something like that, so I'm going to keep it. Here's a 1991 quarter that I found, proof like. So there's a lot of bucket listers that I've found. And here is a NFIC Happy Birthday quarter, which is pretty sweet. This one I found off stream, and it was actually in the last roll. I found a 1982 either a specimen or proof like quarter, which is pretty cool. It's really awesome seeing some of these. And here are some couple 80s that I got from that one guy that brought back a bunch of 80s, those proof commemorative sets, which consisted of pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, and half dollars. No dollars though. And here are some quarters from '77. There's a couple of them which are pretty cool. Then I actually found a couple of 1969 proof light quarters. It's pretty cool. And it's quite awesome actually seeing stuff like this. Now that I'm thinking about it, now that I have them in front of me, I can actually compare some of the ones that I found the other day that could potentially be now that I'm looking at it, this 71 could actually be a proof like one, so that was the one that I found the other day along with the silver quarter. It's always nice finding really nice stuff sometimes. So that's basically that for those interesting finds. And what other stuff did I find that could be a little bit more interesting? That's basically going to be about it for those. So that's basically the interesting finds that I found in terms of modern day coins. It was quite a journey actually, finding all this stuff. And quite amazing to be honest, because I didn't think I'd ever find or get any of this stuff. And it's quite a lot, so hopefully you enjoyed this little video of a recap of what I found in terms of modern day coins. And hopefully you'll stay tuned for tonight's hunt, because I'm going to be hunting about 125 in dimes and then 100 in quarters. I had about 50 that were see-through last night, so I went through them. I didn't find anything. There wasn't really much of anything in there, to be honest, so happy hunting, guys, and stay tuned.